Hi there, Richard Tubb here, and I'm joined today by Rory Gallagher of SmileBack, a customer satisfaction business based out of Berlin, but with clients, MSP clients that is, all over the world. Rory, good to see you today. How are you doing?
You too as well, Richard. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, for anybody who's not familiar with SmileBack and your place within the managed service provider industry, give us a brief overview.
Yeah, so really as a company, we consider ourselves feedback specialists. So we're focused on helping particularly MSPs collect as much customer satisfaction data, just really customer feedback that they can then leverage throughout their business, either just to improve, use it training internally, using externally, either in marketing or with their clients. But yeah, really focused on helping MSPs get as much feedback as possible and then using that to impact their bottom line and throughout the business.
Because it's interesting, I ask MSPs, if you were to ask your clients what they thought about you right now at this moment, most MSPs would go, oh, because most
Yeah.
MSPs don't hear from their clients until something's gone wrong. So what
Yeah.
SmileBack is trying to do is to solicit that sort of opinion all the way through so you can see whether things are good, bad, or indifferent.
Exactly. I always say, like, if you don't have a feedback mechanism that's really easy, you'll maybe hear when your customers are really happy, but more likely than not when they're really upset. And you miss that 90% in the middle of either customers validating that you're doing the right thing or people that are not entirely upset, but have some complaints or have some ideas on how you could improve the experience for them.
Yeah. Now, being a former managed service provider myself, I know that it's really difficult to get clients to give you that feedback because they're either really happy or they're really unhappy. But if they're in the middle, they're just sort of, they won't give you that feedback. In fact, I was speaking to an MSP just the other day, US-based MSP, and they said that they've attached surveys to all of their help desk tickets, and they were getting, on average, a 1% feedback. And they were like, it's fairly pointless. I know you're getting significantly more than a 1% feedback for your clients,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Yeah. I think the problem with most surveys is they're not designed from the end user's perspective. They're designed from like asking everything you ever want. I always say, if you ever see the Microsoft survey, most people I show have seen it for the last decade or two and only responded to it a couple times because they're not user friendly. So yeah, we've kind of used a different method that's you can see it with smiley faces that gets a much higher response rate because it is as easy as clicking for the customer and just embeds into the process and the email they'd already be getting anyway when you resolve their problems.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been, rather than talk about it, perhaps we could show it. Do you mind doing us a
Yeah.
screen share and perhaps walking us through the product? Now, I guess before we begin, which platforms do you integrate with in terms of professional service automation, that type of thing?
Yeah, so we integrate with ConnectWise Manage and Autotask.
Cool. So the big two there. Yeah.
Big
Excellent.
two, yeah.
So yeah, talk us through it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is what the email will look like. Again, we're talking before about the idea of not inundating your user with questions, not giving them a link to go somewhere else and go to a portal and then spend 10 minutes filling out a survey, but instead giving them an experience that is super simple, that it's already email they're getting, letting them know their issue is resolved, and giving them the chance to click one of these faces. And it's actually so effective that 42% of people who will open the email will click it. So that's our average response rate.
Wow.
We get our customers up to that. We'll help you with that as well. And that's, I think really the reason is because it is so intuitive. It's, if you see, if you're happy, you'll hit green. If you're upset or it's unresolved, you'll hit the red face. And if it's, that neutral somewhere in between, this is kind of the neutral face, the type of people where I think you really miss out on feedback because they're not necessarily going to write into a manager. They're so upset that the issues are resolved. But by clicking this yellow face, they can give an indication that either something was lacking or the process, took too long or whatever the issue was.
And this is something that's attached to the bottom of tickets that go out from within your PSA tool.
Exactly. Yeah. So you'll just embed it right within that email notification that goes out. You usually want to do it at the last stage of the ticket's life. So if it's completed or closed, and it's the email that's embedded in here. And you can design what it looks like around. Usually the simpler the email, the better. And it's sticking with the smiley face technique. And we've seen this, SmileBack's been around for years. Now we're seeing it everywhere, at airports and hotels. This idea of using kind of like a smiley face as a traffic light scenario is very intuitive, and we can tell it works. And then, so your customer's happy, they go ahead and say click this, the green smiley face here. You can always brand it with your logo and everything like that. And then they're brought to this comment page. We don't force the users to leave a comment. I think you've probably seen your experience that, people are happy to give a green face. They want to just, one click, give feedback. But for the ones that are willing to give you more insight, this is really useful. And we really err to the side of just having a single kind of unconstrained question and just getting their thoughts out and figuring out what the issue was. And it can change, if it's a negative experience, they'll probably be telling you what happened or what the problem is. If it's neutral, it's, what's lacking. And then it's positive, you're getting kudos for your technicians, you're getting just how they love the service overall. And one thing you might have noticed is like, if you're switching to a positive comment, there's actually a couple additional options down here for them to click.
Very cool. And I especially like the one about posting to your Google My Business page, because so few MSPs, Rory, actually utilize that My Business page to actually find local business. It's crazy.
It's true, yeah. And I mean, we definitely built this just off of demand. I think for a lot of the MSPs in particular, the Google My Business page can be a huge source of building social proof. And it's where a lot of your customers will be shopping around, or at least validating that, you're worth looking into. And yeah, it's as easy as, somebody's typing like, it's a great service, or they really, really loved Richard, or whatever the case is. They can now just like click a couple boxes and give you permission to use it. So one for the Google My Business page is they hit submit and they'll be taken to your page, review box open. They could paste their review, give you 5 stars. And that's how we're already seeing customers getting a lot more really, really good positive Google reviews out of it. And then the other one is just basically open-ended. Can you use the review and the feedback in your marketing materials? And we now actually have this built into a website widget where you can have this show on your website automatically, having these positive reviews pop in. We even have it on our site already as well, so you can see all the good feedback. I think it's just great social proof, especially for an MSP type business, that the business is really the help desk and kind of working through and how well you service tickets.
Yeah, I absolutely love this for 2 reasons. I mean, we talked about the Google My Business. When I mention that to MSPs and I say, hey, you're overlooking a big opportunity here, because clients, when they're thinking, hey, I want to work with this MSP, they look for social proof, don't they? They Google, local, your MSP name and review, and to see what's going on. And if it comes up with a big fat 0, nobody, you're a bit suspicious. And so when I mention this to MSPs, Rory, they say, oh, right, we'll get onto that. But then going and asking clients for that feedback on Google My Business just seems like a bit of a chore for them. So this just makes it really, really simple.
Yeah, definitely. Just trying to take kind of the legwork out of asking of all the good ones and just allowing the ones that love you and are happy to share it to click a box and be able to do it.
Absolutely. And the other thing, that just springs to mind here, when I speak to MSPs about, I said earlier on about the feedback from their clients, of course, they know when things are bad and they've usually got a process in place for dealing with customer complaints. But when it's good feedback, most MSPs that I know just say thanks or oh shucks and move on and do nothing at all with that brilliant testimonial that they've got. So I love this idea that you can tick the box, and that instantly creates a testimonial, doesn't it? That you can use in your marketing material, on your website, everywhere else.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, forgive me, continue.
No worries. Yeah, I think that side this here is kind of the survey, the response rate it's how you collect feedback, which is really important. If you're not collecting enough feedback, you don't have that data, you kind of have to stop there. But that's also where I see a lot of MSPs kind of fall short, is they just put in place a survey, leave it at that. But to really be able to leverage it and give value throughout your business, like this is just using a market as an example of taking action on feedback. What second step really is, how do you easily assess feedback and get insights into it that you can use? And that's really what the rest of SmileBack is built for. So this is the platform, like our own web app platform you're looking at here. I think the dashboard itself has that purpose of helping you to assess feedback and answer primarily like, how are we doing overall? So you're going to see like, what's your net CSAT score? And for anybody who's not too familiar with the methodology, it's just, % positive reviews minus % negative. Very simple way to gauge where you're at. We can even have, we have benchmarks to try to see, how do you compare to your region? How do you compare against, other MSPs on ConnectWise or Autotask? And then really seeing the monthly trends going up. So, looking at how things changing over a year. This is very quick, fast, high level overview. We even feed in, what are the positive comments, and then the leaderboards down here for reporting we see are fun ways to see feedbacks. You know, if you have a lot of, we call it agents here, but if you have a lot of technicians on your team working tickets, you can have some competition or give rewards for being in the top 5. Even look at, you know, which of your client companies are, you know, giving you the happiest scores here. And then segments are, you know, if you're using it in different parts of the business. So particularly like the ConnectWise Manage instance can be like, if you put us on different boards, if you want to see, you know, how engineering does versus just managed services versus, you know, installations or whatever the case is, you can put all those out there and then see it very quickly. And yeah, that's just kind of the quick high level overview. If you do want then to get more granular, which is often the next days of assessment. So one is just to look at like, what's the feedback coming in? And you can always pull through and see all these reviews. This is what the system will pull automatically whenever one of your customers clicks a face. You'll be able to see what the review is, what their comment was, when they gave permission, and then key things like what the topic of the ticket was versus like also connected to the ticket itself. Who gave the review, what company they work for, and then who on your team was working the ticket, and, you know, getting, you know, credit whether it was good or bad. And that's all done in the background. It's a really easy tool to set up. We usually get people up and running in half an hour, and then you can set it. And don't say forget it, because you definitely want to keep looking at the feedback and doing things. But it's low maintenance in the sense it's, you know, something that can run and collect lots of data and give you value without you necessarily having to work on it every day and be involved every day.
Yeah, that makes sense, because customer satisfaction, CSAT, is something that most MSPs that I speak to say, yeah, we'll get around to that. That'll be a project. And it feels a little bit like marketing. I always say that marketing is an ongoing process. It's not an event. And customer satisfaction is not an event. You don't do a survey and then that's it. It's something that needs to be done all the time, every day, all the time, to keep a finger on the pulse of your business. So yeah, this is a great way to do that. One question, I guess, Rory, if a really good bit of feedback or a really negative bit of feedback comes through, is there a way for the team to be notified of this type of feedback that's coming through so they can take action quickly?
Yeah, great question. So for that, we do actually have a few ways you can do that.
Okay.
In particular, so what we use is automation workflows for that. The simplest one you can do for both ConnectWise and Autotask is like, say, we recommend neutral or negative feedback comes in, set up an email, and you can set up multiple email notifications. You can drill it down by, you know, certain people responsible for groups of companies or groups of technicians, and having just a simple email notification to make sure the managers are aware and take action. And you have a good, I think the best SLA we see is like respond within an hour, try to resolve the issue within a day. When it comes to ConnectWise Manage, we actually have a really good and deep integration where you can actually change things within the PSA itself. So you can, one, create a new service ticket within Manage to take involved. And what's the most popular is this actual ability to move the ticket to a board with the status, or even keep it on a board with the status. So I've seen the best situation is like maybe keeping it on your services board, but you have an escalation status that can then trigger a workflow. And I hear it from people. It's really nice because it does have a nice flow. It sticks to the business. You know, somebody can hit negative, you can have that status, and then you're living within ConnectWise, bring in the right people to get involved on the ticket and make sure everything's recorded and doesn't get lost. So yeah, I do think it's important to give your customers a voice, and it's really important not to ignore it when they wave that red flag and say, I have a problem. And that's what automation can help you do, like build that into your process.
I love that, Rory. I would actually go as far as to say that most MSPs that I know, like I said, have got a process in place for negative feedback, but not for positive feedback. So one of the things I'd love to see is like engineers being rewarded, and perhaps even giving the client a pat on the back to say thank you for the positive feedback, like send a, get a notification, send a gift or something to reinforce that, hey, we appreciate what you're telling us. So positive feedback is as important as the negative.
I agree. Yeah. We always say, like, how can you turn positive feedback into like positive results? And that's definitely one of it, is thanking people for giving feedback. If you live within the same area, take out your customers that are always giving reviews, that are always happy, take them out to lunch, pat them on the back. And then also using certain features, like we're working now on like a Microsoft Teams and Slack integration where you can now push, positive feedback into maybe a public channel, and everybody can pat each other on the back, and your technicians can see in real time as responses come in. And yeah, especially if it's positive, you can have it very public.
I love the idea of that feature, because within Team Tubb, we've got a wins channel within Slack, and we put, when we get LinkedIn testimonials or anything like that, we put it in there to celebrate the success, because all too often success isn't celebrated. We just move on to the next thing. So I really love that idea.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and then I do want to talk on reporting as well. So with SmileBack, you have different ways where you can pull the data. Of course, you're looking at on a client company basis. You want to see who's giving you the highest number, highest percentage of positive reviews. Check how you're doing month over month. You have different options with that. In particular, for people that are doing QBRs or doing those type of client meetings or really want to, and I oftentimes see people bringing feedback in as a piece as part of a bigger project to just be more communicative with the customers and having more data to bring with them. For that, we actually have client reports that are particularly useful for an MSP in that context, especially for like a quarterly business review, where you can like pick the quarter, pick the client, and then generate a report. Takes just a few seconds for us to run it and create it for you, and then you have this PDF that you can then branded with your logo, taken to your clients. And I think a lot of the inspiration for this product was just avoiding the downsides of not having this data before you go into a QBR with a really big client and wanting to have either like anticipation of what were the issues that came up or just more evidence as to the good work you've been doing and all the tickets that have been closed and everything that maybe a main contact hasn't been involved with. And this can really show them how their colleagues really love your service and how good of a job you've been doing this last quarter.
Yeah, and I think this builds up a lot of trust as well when you're highlighting perhaps if things aren't so good and you're saying, hey, this is the neutral or the negative feedback that we've had. Here's what we're doing to fix it. Because so many MSPs go into client meetings and say, hey, everything's brilliant. And then the client was like, not so much. Let's have a conversation. Yep. If you're open and honest about it, I think it goes a long way to building that sort of authenticity, the trust with the client.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I've got to ask, Rory, I'm a bit of a customer satisfaction geek myself. Yes. I noticed there's a tab on here, NPS, Net Promoter Score. So for people not familiar with Net Promoter Score, perhaps you can give a little overview and then maybe we could take a look at what it's about.
Yeah, so Net Promoter Score is another type of survey that is really good at measuring how your customers feel about your overall relationship. So if we think about CSAT, which is, the smiley face is the close of every ticket. What you're really measuring is how good of a job your team's doing on transactional things. Somebody had a problem, how did you solve it? What it can miss is, say, how a main contact at a big account or a big client company actually feels about the overall relationship and how much you're fulfilling the greater needs. So compared to CSAT, which, is frequent with every ticket, this is something you'd want to do on a quarterly basis with those key contacts that, every quarter you're asking them, instead of, how do we do on this particular request? It's, how likely you recommend you to a friend or colleague, and they have a scale of 0 to 10. And those on the upper end, the 9s and 10s are your real champions, what they call the promoters. Those are the best ones to even follow up with. Thank, send an Amazon gift card, ask for referrals. Like those are the ones that really love you. Then you have, the 7, 8s that are the passives, more of a neutral stance. And then the ones that are 6 or below are what they call detractors. And these are the ones really at the highest risk of leaving. Really the accounts you want to get involved in. We especially see with NPS, there's a lot of value in using it over time. And we even see where, if somebody is consistently giving us 9s and 10s and then responds with a 6, that's to our team like a big red flag that something went wrong between, last quarter to now, and let's get on the phone and or at least send them an email and try to get to a conversation to figure out what's going wrong now and see maybe it's, for us, it could be maybe an issue with the product they want to see change, it could be the service or a particular incident they had.
Yeah, so Net Promoter Score, I know, is like an industry accepted standard of sort of getting an idea of how you're doing. I can see lots of MSPs getting a little bit competitive over this, which leads to my next question, Rory. Is there you talked about benchmarking against other businesses. Is there any way that the MSP can maybe display these results on the website or, sort of show off how well they're doing? Because this is a positive way of attracting new clients as well.
Definitely, yeah. So that's actually one of the widgets we've built out. Cool. So you can actually do CSAT, NPS. You can have them both together. Let's see. I'll particularly
super widget. Yeah, I like that.
So this is if you just want to put NPS out in the world and you can put the score there, and you can really show it. And then, the super widget, we'll have both of them put together. You can see it there. Yeah, so you could see both and have both those scores out there. So yeah, definitely part of this is putting that feedback out there. And then we even have where you just want to put your MPS score with the reviews that came in, and we can have those, you know, positive comments where they said, cool, share it with the world, have those push out automatically, and then put it on your website and use it as a point of differentiation. And sometimes it's, you know, you can look at a lot of MSPs websites and it's hard to tell just from looking out in the market, what's the differentiator? And, you know, CSAT is a really powerful differentiator for that. And this is, you know, really good social proof. It's like a real gauge and real time updating.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's the social proof. People go to your MSP website, don't they? And they say, this all looks good, but I wonder what other people say about this. And people are asking around. By the time people actually pick up the phone to you, they know pretty much everything about the company and they know what other people are saying about you. So if you can direct them and say, hey, we're doing really well with this because here's some of our other customers, that's just going to accelerate the sales cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Cool.
So in terms of all of this looks great. I love the integration with ConnectWise and Autotask. I guess the question I can hear MSPs all around the world are asking right now, this is going to cost a lot of money. You publicize the pricing. What does it look like, Rory?
Yep. Yeah. So we have it right here, SmileBack.com/pricing. Our pricing is actually pretty straightforward. We do it based off of tiers. We don't price it based off of, you know, all the employees you have or every single person you have either in ConnectWise or Autotask. It's really dependent on the number of your support staff putting in time on your tickets that are getting reviewed through SmileBack. And we have different tiers. The pricing starts at $99 US dollars monthly. With whatever plan we have, you can pay monthly, which is like without a contract, really no commitment whatsoever, cancel whenever you'd like. If you ever pay for the whole year up front and essentially commit to the year as well, then you get a 16% discount. So, you know, it's cheaper to always pay annually. And then as you move up each tier, it's actually not much more expensive, about 30 to 40 bucks. But I think it's a very affordable tool, especially for how much you can leverage it in your business and everything you can use. And our pricing is designed to try to be, you know, as affordable for the size of the team and as you're growing and what you can afford and what we see in the market.
Yeah. So the barrier to getting started, if you're an MSP watching this and perhaps don't do any customer satisfaction surveys or anything at all at the moment, the barrier to entry is really low here. So $99, no commitments up front, which I really like that because there's a growing trend in the industry. Hey, you've got to sign a 3-year contract and it's like, come on, I just want to get up and running, get started with it, see if it's a good fit for me. Then you can commit if it is a good fit. So I like the way you're offering a discount for the annual, but doing it on a monthly basis.
Definitely. Yeah, and we also have 2-week free trials. So that's how most people start out. So either do a demo or just try it out. We're really friendly. We'll help you get up and running. We're even we do focus a lot on learning more about the space, really understanding how to leverage feedback, especially in the MSP context. So we are the feedback experts. You can expect as well to get, you know, more training and education and be able to learn from us. And we're always a really hands-on team that if you need help, you need support, you don't have to wait, you know, 2 weeks to get a response. You can write in and we'll get back to you, you know, quite quickly and solve out your issue, iron out whatever it is, and even give you tips on like, hey, your response rate's just at 40, but have you ever tried this? Or maybe here's an announcement I recommend you use to your customers, or here's what you can have your technicians say when they close the ticket to make sure people respond. And then once you start getting lots of feedback, it's like, hey, let's get you ready for MPS and make sure you get a few campaigns up and running. So we'll definitely, I think that's a big value coming with SmileBack as well, is that we're kind of I think one of the original surveys, especially in the MSP world, and we're really focused on leveraging that knowledge and expertise for all of our customers.
Well, you're clearly doing something right, Rory, because I tweeted out before we jumped onto this call today, and I said that I'm going to be doing a video demo, and I had a flood of MSPs tweeting back saying, we use SmileBack, we love those guys, say hello. So you've got a lot of fans out there in the MSP community already. For anybody who's watched the video and perhaps wants to find out more, wants to take a trial or jump straight in, how can they reach out to you or get in touch with the team at SmileBack?
Yeah, you can always write to me, Rory at SmileBack.com, RORY. You can also just do sales at SmileBack.com. And if you really just want to get started with the trial, go ahead, go to SmileBack.com, and it's right front and center. Start a trial or book a demo if you want to have us explain things, particularly for your context. And then, no matter what, you can write to us, and we'll help you get up and running, and get everything, ironed out, and get you getting feedback as quickly as possible. Because we find once people start a trial and start seeing all that feedback coming in, and sometimes it's all really positive, sometimes it's more negative than they expect. But once you actually start getting words from your customers frequently coming in, a lot of times the value is seen. It's like, oh, okay, we're missing out on this information. Now we see it. Like, let's bring this on board.
Absolutely. Rory, thank you for your time today. A great looking product. And I know you've got a lot of fans out there. So if you're an MSP watching this, doing nothing with customer satisfaction, jump in, give Rory a shout. Thanks for your time, Rory.
Thank you, Richard. Take care.
Thanks.